This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, it's a Wednesday here in Pittsburgh. And a nice Wednesday out there.
Yeah.
Getting closer and closer to the NFL meetings this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, our schedule, we'll have an extra bonus day of The Drive on Sunday.
You don't get us on Sunday very often. How about that?
You also get some bonus hours, apparently, next week. We're going to go from 2 to 5. Well, we'll have a 3-hour show.
3-hour show.
3-hour show.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, and then
we're
Wednesday
back
we're back in Pittsburgh.
Gotcha.
So lots of stuff
Unless
that's going to be
flight issue or whatever.
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
Hopefully not.
So we'll have that. We'll talk a little bit more about the some of the proposed rule changes from the competition committee. They only offered up 2 suggestions.
Oh, that's all. Got that far?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Russell Wilson,
What's the news of the day?
Wilson era has ended in Pittsburgh. This happened last night after our show was over. That Russ is taking his talents to New York with the Giants.
So start with the Steelers spin, but I want to talk Giants with you too on this one. This is great news, Steeler fans. I mean, in some ways. I mean, assuming Rodgers or somebody else is in place, and I do think it'll be Rodgers, but who knows? The musical chairs are kind of stopped.
Russell Wilson doesn't sign with the Giants unless the Steelers told him they were out.
I assume that happened.
Which leads me to believe that the Steelers know what Aaron Rodgers' intentions are.
Yeah, and even further, maybe Wilson wouldn't even be the number 2 if Rodgers backs out or whatever. I don't know, but I assume Rodgers is going to be
because Russell Wilson wanted to return to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
this is where he wanted to be.
It's a better situation than one he was going to.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So why it's good news is I think probably we get some sort of Rodgers answer sooner than later, but I don't think anybody's in any rush on either side. But the beauty of it is the comp game still. I mean, I'm not an expert, but these comp people experts, as it stands now, from what I understand, the Steelers are set up to get a 3rd, 2 4ths, and a 6th.
Russ is a 5.
Okay. So
because it's a 1-year deal, the base salary is like $10.5 million.
$10.5 guaranteed.
It can go up to $21 million if he hits.
So I think he can go. What I said of 3 2 4s and a 6, which is not an exact science. I think that's the minimum. I think it could go even higher.
Over the cap is saying a 3, a 4 for Fields, a 5 for Wilson, and a 6 for James Daniels.
Okay.
I'll trust them. They're
the best at it.
Yeah.
There's no question. And I know Wilson couldn't get better if he hits the incentives and all that good stuff.
There's playtime stuff involved there.
For all those guys. And you're only allowed to get 4 picks.
Right.
Folks. So 3rd's the highest round you can get. You could get 4 thirds. I mean, if it's that crazy of an offseason. But you're only allowed 4 picks. But that's a haul. I mean, that's all the mock drafts we do. I mean, if we threw in a 3, 4, 5, and 6 and what we do every day,
it'd be awesome.
Trade up possibilities and trade one for next year and, attack needs, quarterback. I mean, I think it sets up really well. And I'm not just brushing away the next 300 days. I mean, I think they're a better football team with Rodgers and Metcalf than the one we saw last, or better offense, at least. And they have so much cap space still, but especially next year. And they have all these picks. They're in a pretty good situation, big picture here. And more than a year or two, big picture doesn't exist in the NFL.
Right, yeah. I mean, it really has become a year-to-year league, which is, just the reality of it, particularly when you don't have a star quarterback.
Sure.
You got to keep churning the roster, and I don't care. The Steelers are going to have their different starter for 5th consecutive year. I don't care about that.
I really don't
until
either.
You find the guy.
I was going to say, who did you want to keep so bad?
Right.
I mean, that was a big thing I got Kieran today. It was like, who are you so brokenhearted of those 5 that are no longer in black and gold? Besides Ben, who gets old because the world spins and everyone gets old.
No, I'm on the record. Based on what or how the Steelers roster is currently constructed, with those 2 big outside receivers, I thought Russell Wilson would be the better fit for that.
Yeah.
For that part of it.
For that part of it, 100%.
But if they're going to adjust the offense for Aaron Rodgers and throw more over the middle and do those kind of things, okay, I get, because Metcalf can do that. Pickens can do that. These guys can run over the middle.
Absolutely. And I actually went back yesterday and just looked at their heat maps of Fields, Wilson, and Rodgers. And frankly, there's just a lot more over the middle stuff with Rodgers. It's not even close. I mean, it's a totally different areas of the field that he attacks, and he always has. I mean, and to me, that's not the only difference, but it's a major one. So I think this is great news for the Steelers. Giants, let me see if you think the same thing. I took away two things by this signing, considering they already had Winston in tow. Well, three things. They have no chance to get the one for Ward.
Right.
I mean, I think that the writing's on the wall there. Either they think Sanders is definitely going at 2, and they got no chance there, and or they've come to the conclusion we're not going to take Sanders over Hunter or Carter because those guys are just better prospects. And I bet that's the case where, I mean, I think the more I watch Hunter, the more I think he's by far the best player in this draft. I mean, I can't imagine taking Sanders over Hunter and sleeping at night. I mean, Sanders is a fine prospect.
Which is why the Browns are going to do that.
And the Browns might do that, yeah. So I bet the Giants take Carter or Hunter, and then they're the team trying to get back in if Sanders happens to fall, or they're the dart team, that tries to get back in. And if they don't, they got two professional quarterbacks.
Yeah, the thing is, though, I mean, if you look at the draft order, I don't know that they would necessarily need to get back in to the first round.
I mean, they're early in the second, of course, too. If Sanders falls till 17, or if he's not an early pick or gets past the Saints, could they be the team trying to go get him or Dart? I don't know how aggressive you have to be either, but I would think that they're not 100% done at quarterback, but they can be.
They can be. They've got two competent guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be pretty much like what the Steelers have set themselves up, by signing Mason Rudolph, assuming that you also then get Aaron Rodgers. Looking at round 2, they have the 34th pick. They have the second pick of the second round. Well, if the Browns take Shedeur Sanders at 2,
and Tennessee takes Ward,
somebody else would have to jump ahead of them in the into the first round. Tennessee going to do it? No, they just took Ward.
They'll have Ward.
Jacksonville's at 36. They're not going to do it.
No. Raiders.
The Raiders at 37 could.
Mm-hmm. There's teams like Raiders, Jets that I could see being aggressive for.
But they would have would be a pretty big jump up to even like which one of those teams at the end of the first round is going to want to move back to 37.
I don't know. Yeah,
and you might have to give up next year's first to do it.
Oh, I can see the Giants giving up too much to make that move.
Yeah. Whereas the Giants at 34, and let's say Buffalo did it last year. Let's say Buffalo would do it again. Well, you're only going back 4 spots.
I say Buffalo went to 32 or 33.
Yeah,
it wasn't
as
far.
Opposed to dropping back to 37. The Patriots aren't making that move. They're at 38. At 39 is Chicago. They're not making that move.
No.
New Orleans is at 40. They could do it.
They could do it.
But moving from 40 into the first round is even tougher than moving from.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is I think we're going to see even more mocks of Jackson Dart going 21 to the Steelers, which I think everyone knows our opinion on that.
Nobody in Pittsburgh is mocking that, by the way.
Right.
It's all the outside people.
Yeah. But maybe the Giants look at it like, well, if we get to 20, we'll get our guy.
Everything,
which
as you
wouldn't
mentioned,
break my heart at all.
With the compensatory picks, everything is setting up for the Steelers to not draft a quarterback in the first round. I could see, and if you take one if you take one in the 4th round, you take one even in the 3rd round, fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not in the
doesn't
first,
change
though.
anything, right?
No, not in the first.
Next year sets it
so
up well.
Yeah,
not because next year's a better quarterback class. I don't even know. I mean, everyone says it is. I don't think this is the best quarterback class I've ever seen.
But they've loaded up on ammunition be able to make that move, to get into the top 10 if you want to do that.
I have so focused on that in the last 24 hours since we've been together that I know we have labs coming up. It's going to be a much longer conversation. But I want to set this team up, and I have a lot of ideas of how to do it, of how can they provide a wonderful nest for the guy that they attack in next year's draft. I mean, let's say the Steelers end up picking 20, 21 like they've been the last couple years. Getting to, you don't have to get to one.
Right.
I mean, get one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks or whoever you like the best.
Whichever one you like the best.
Yeah.
And if you have to go to 7 to do that, you got to go to 7.
If you have to go to
because
1
the
and
thing
it's next
is,
year's first and every pick in next year's draft, I don't care.
Look at
like just
who are the team? Who's going to be picking number 1 overall next year?
oh, geez, who knows?
Could it be Cleveland?
Cleveland, the Saints jump off the board to me.
Okay, well let's say it is the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they're going to take a quarterback.
Yes, assuming they don't either one this year, both those teams should be in that market.
But if Tennessee and Cleveland both take quarterbacks this year, they're not taking another one next year.
No.
They're not going to Cardinal this thing.
Patriot won't.
Yeah.
Patriots could be bad again.
The Patriots
won't.
could, but they're not going to.
Jags are always bad. They won't.
The Raiders,
yes,
maybe, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be top
I don't think
10
they'll be
bad.
horrible.
No, I don't think they're going to be in that position. The Jets, potentially.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Could Carolina be back in that spot?
I don't know if they'd move on or not.
I don't think they.
They'd have to have a disastrous year, which is maybe why they'd be in that spot.
Yeah.
Because at that point, they'd be fifth-year option time almost. And
right.
Maybe just be like, trade him for a second and use an early pick. I mean, quarterback needs always arise.
Yeah. But all you have to do is look at the teams that have recently drafted a quarterback.
Of
in
course,
the last
the Bears and
3
Washington
years.
and Denver.
Yeah.
And those. I mean, I know those teams don't look like they could pick that early, but
the Patriots are out of that market.
Right.
The Giants are still in it. Jacksonville's out of that market. The
what
Raiders.
If Giants draft Dart though? You know,
they could
even
that could
in the
take them
early
out
second
of it.
round.
Yeah.
That could take him out of it.
The Raiders aren't. It could be one.
Raiders could
the Jets could be one.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, I don't think so.
No, the New York teams stand out to me.
The Saints, yes. The Bears, no. 49ers, no. Dallas,
unless
no.
they haven't got Purdy done for some reason, right?
Right. Dallas, I don't think they're going to. They just paid Dak. Miami, they just paid Tua.
Right.
The Colts could be one.
Colts could be one.
They could say we're done. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure that Miami, Dallas, Colts could end up with the first overall pick.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that another team that could be in that market in the quarterback market next year. Atlanta, no. Arizona.
It would have to be a disastrous year, but you know.
Cincinnati's a no.
No.
Seattle's a yes. They could be back in it.
Yeah, that's a one-year deal. If they
could be back in it next year. Tampa Bay's a no.
Probably, right.
Denver's a no.
The only thing I would rebut, though, is if a luck-like prospect comes out, a lot of those no's turn to yes.
But I don't.
And I don't even know who that is. I mean, if
but that
Arch
just
Manning's
means that another
superstar.
Quarterback's going to be available.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you first overall, and
I'm just saying
superstar,
teams that, as we sit here right now, would they be in the market next year for a quarterback, based on what they currently have or what they've spent in recent seasons on the quarterback position?
Because there were 6 first-rounders last year.
There aren't many landing spots.
Right.
Denver's a no. The Steelers are a yes. The Chargers are a no. The Packers are a no. The Vikings are a no.
It would be a no. McCarthy would have to be
Houston's
so bad.
a no. The Rams are a yes.
The Rams are definitely a yes. But they're going to be good.
The Ravens are a no. Detroit's a no.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine them being how that even work.
Goff.
You'd have to have some catastrophic injury or something.
Washington's a no. Buffalo's a no. Kansas City's a no. And Philadelphia is a no.
They're a no, yeah.
So realistically, there's about
5 or 6 teams.
There's only about 5 teams in there once this draft is over. And let's say there's 2 quarterbacks selected in the first round who are even going to be in the market potentially for a quarterback next year.
Let alone being in striking distance.
Right.
Like the Rams could win a playoff game and Stafford retires and they have nothing. But they're not going to get the 2.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They would have to move. I mean, they would be the team that would trade for Tua if Miami decided to move on.
Right. That kind of thing. They would go get their veteran.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold move or something like that.
Something like that.
Or Russell Wilson.
Because they
Aaron
wouldn't
Rodgers
be in a
type
position to
right.
be able to get into position to.
Yeah. They'd have to be a year
to
away
get up
probably.
there.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I don't know if it's a good quarterback draft or not. I'm just saying.
Nobody does. You can talk about it all you want.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, was supposed to be the
guy
second coming. Right. Everybody assumes that Manning is, he's got 2 career starts.
Yeah. And on the other way,
and he might not even come out.
Oh, right. And on the other side of it, this time in Joe Burrow's career at LSU, he was like a 5th-round pick.
And, we went over
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, we went over the ESPN's mock draft, preseason mock draft in August, from August of last year, a few weeks ago. And it was Carson Beck was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah,
he's not even available in this draft. He's not even at Georgia anymore.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be the first overall pick this draft class, a 6-year dude or whatever. But the bottom line is what we 100% agree on is next year you can go all in and spend every one of your draft picks on that quarterback if you want. I mean, if you fall in love,
and if you don't want to, you can trade those picks for picks next year.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Rodgers is back, and maybe you won 2 playoff games,
or maybe
you know what I mean?
Just who knows,
right?
But
right.
it sets you up to make.
I love
move.
where they're at.
Yeah,
going forward.
Yeah,
I mean, because they're gonna have cap space rolled over. I mean, I'd have to look. I'm not gonna get too far ahead. I don't know their free agents after this year, but some of them will bring back comp picks too, probably going forward. They'll extend TJ. I mean, there's not a lot of housekeeping that needs done.
And the beauty of the entire situation. They gave up nothing to acquire Russell Wilson.
Right, and he gets you a pick.
And now he's going to get you a pick.
Mm-hmm.
You gave up a 6th-round pick for Justin Fields, and he's going to get you a 4.
Yeah. And you got a year out of them, too.
You got a year out of them. Yeah.
And if by chance you fell in love with one of them, they would be your quarterback now.
Right.
You know? I mean, you can't do that every year. You got to find your guy. But
right.
when there's not many options, you made chicken salad. You know what I mean?
But it was a genius move beyond just having – you changed your quarterback room in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you've also netted two draft picks.
You get stuff out
for
of
those
it, right.
guys. You get something for it. It's the same reason why you draft quarterbacks all the time, because you might get something for them.
Yep.
Somebody might sign them to a $10 million deal.
Same reason you draft tackles.
Yeah.
Because Dan Moore's worth $20 million and a 3rd-round pick. Because you used a 1st-round pick the year before. You know
that's
what I mean?
the other thing. You used a 4th-round pick on Dan Moore, and he netted you a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, right. And you got a lot of years of service, cheap service.
Yeah.
That you weren't paying him $20 million a year. I mean, it's different if that's a $20 million player, and you gained a round of collateral or whatever. But you got him cheap.
Yeah.
And they work that really well now. I mean, say what you want. I know they haven't won a playoff game lately, and blah, blah, blah. Omar knows what he's doing with today's NFL in terms of where to allocate your resources, how to set you up to get that quarterback. Now, it doesn't mean that quarterback exists next year. But
and doing things like that allows you to trade a 2nd-round draft pick for a DK Metcalf, knowing that, okay, we're going to –
and I think they looked at it like, I don't want the receivers. My
That's
receiver
exactly
answer
it.
isn't here.
I just wrote our second go round on the triple take. And
okay.
I wrote those very words.
Right.
The trade for DK Metcalf shows me that the Steelers didn't love this wide receiver class.
They've been looking for the answer, and they're not going to half-ass it. And I like Stephon Diggs. You could have got him, but he may not be ready for the start of camp, and he's 31 years old. The
Patriots
Debo
also
Samuel's,
paid him $69 million. Exactly. What an overpay that was.
Exactly. I mean, Debo Samuel has a lot of warts. Cooper Kupp is far from – none of those guys are DK Metcalf right now.
You got a 27-year-old receiver instead of a 30-year-old receiver.
Exactly.
Or a 31-year-old receiver.
And, hey, if you want to pay Pickens, you can pay Pickens.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
There's so much freedom.
Let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, Bob Labriola, right after this. And welcome back to The Drive, the tomb, the crypt. On the Justin Miller hotline, we have Bob Labriola, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears. How you doing, Labs?
That's more Crypt Keeper. But, hey, I'll tell you what. I was prepared for you guys that if you didn't have music, I was going to give you a hard time about it.
Justin's on it. That was news to me.
Yeah. Kudos to Justin, because I know he's the one who did all the work.
As usual.
So, Bob, the competition committee today, in addition to recommending that this is what the league announced today, in addition to recommending changes or adjustments, tweaks to the kickoff rule, which is going to stay in place, they want that to be a permanent thing. Kind of knew that was going to happen. They want to add some checks and balances to the officiating crews. And
I didn't hear that.
They want to make replay. They've recommended expanding replay system to allow the overturning of certain penalties called based on specific objective aspects of the play, which would include hits on defenseless player, face mask, horse collar tackles, tripping or running into the kicker, things like that. So they're not going to call them from the up above, but if it's called and it wasn't that, replay would have the ability to overturn that call. Yay or nay on that for you, Bob?
Well, that sounds to me a little bit like what replay assist was supposed to be last year.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's nice in theory, but again, we continue. The league continues to put a Band-Aid on the flesh wound, and again, it just seems more layers of the same kind of thing that brought us replay and all the problems associated with that. I mean, whatever. I guess maybe if someone would want to look at it optimistically and praise the league for trying to get it right, okay. But, I truly believe that the way to do it is better officials, and eliminate the replay and all of that stuff, because that just makes, in my opinion, officials tentative. A lot of times they either call things or don't call things because they know that if they call them or don't call them a certain way, replay will be there automatically to back them up. And, again, I've said this on your show. I believe this for a long time. Treat officials like players in this sense. You draft them, quote unquote, young, teach them, develop them, and then when they get to 30, maybe their early 30s, then they're too old. Get somebody else, get a new batch in. And that's kind of the way I see it. But hey, it's I don't know. I'm just skeptical that this is really going to fix the problem. Again, I just think that they continue to try and, here's another thing too. Teams and coaches have to get it through their heads that there are going to be mistakes. Coaches make mistakes, players make mistakes, officials can make mistakes, overcome it, and move on. This idea that every call has to be correct, it's not real. It's just not.
Well, what I would like to see, though, Bob, is a little more openness in terms of some of these things. Like, we have press conferences, the coaches have to answer for their mistakes.
Why'd you go for it on fourth down?
Players have to answer when they make a mistake. But you have to go with bended knee and ask, sir, might we talk to you about this mistake that was made, or what were you thinking on this particular thing? And then you get the next day, even if you don't get the official review of what happened, you get the talking heads who go on their shows the next day and say, well, they made the right call. When everybody looking at it,
let alone if a coach or player questions them, then they get fined.
And then the coach and player gets fined, but these guys just have carte blanche to just do whatever they want, and nobody ever gets a chance to say, what were you thinking on that? Or what was the thought process there? Unless, again, you get a pool reporter, and nobody wants to do that necessarily, and you have to request it, and then they have to acquiesce to said request, and it's just, I think that process needs to be changed a little bit. And just, okay, here were the 5 calls during the game that were controversial. I'm going to talk about all 5 of them, and this is what we were thinking. I don't even care if they take any questions.
Mm-hmm. You're not saying put them at the podium after every game or anything. But.
Give me an explanation of why that call was made.
Well, my response to that is good luck with that.
Well, I know. It's a pie in the sky thing. It's not going to happen.
Right. Never going to happen. And, the league's association, I'll use that word, with gambling now, you almost can't do that. For example, Like I was watching some NCAA basketball this tournament since it began a week ago tomorrow, and you're watching the telecast, and they introduce the players and the coaches, and then they would put up, and they show them on camera. Then they would mention the officials. Never showed you their faces while they were listing their names. And I'm not saying that they should have. I'm saying my opinion is they can't. You can't expose those people, I don't think.
Well, here's the thing, though. Everybody knows who the referees are, who the heads of every crew are. That's no secret. I mean, these guys are on TV.
But you may not know what they look like.
They're on TV, though, constantly, because every time there's a call, holding, right. And you know who these guys are. You know what Ron Torbert looks like.
That's Ed Hockley.
But he's not the guy who necessarily made the call.
I understand that, but he's part of the process of why the call. Trust me, as you well know, they have a conference pretty much after every call.
But Labs, are you insinuating like the anonymity is so their car doesn't blow up afterwards, or that you know what I mean? Like,
you don't think that there would be wackos who lost money on a bet?
Exactly, right.
Kids
can't go to school the next day, or
Right, yeah, that kind of stuff. So I just, the thing to me is there should be some acceptance. And the TV networks are complicit as well.
They are.
They're absolutely complicit as well.
They put those guys on. They pay these guys millions of dollars to come on there and talk about every single call that's made.
Well, not only that, though. 50 angles in super slow motion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if you're going to talk about officiating, it should run in real time. Now tell me what it is.
Right, a human's not going to keep up with the 50 angles. Right.
Well, not only that.
The official has one angle with what you call it. Not
frame by frame analysis of whether a foot is in bounds or not, or is the toe touching the white line, or did the heel hit the black before it got to the white?
Mm-hmm.
They can do that frame by frame, and again, that's not how it's originally adjudicated, and so, it just seems the way the game has evolved in terms of the complexity of it, the speed of it, the rules. How can anybody even know all those rules, let alone be able to interpret them in game speed, split second, and be right all the time? It's just not realistic, and I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I know that, for example, in baseball, or even NBA or college basketball, you don't get a chance to interview those guys after every game or have them speak every game.
Yeah, the umpire doesn't talk to the media, right?
No.
Why'd you call this a strike? Why'd you call this a ball? Or
Yeah, and balls and strikes.
There's no arguing balls and strikes. Yeah. That's the first thing when I umpire and we're having our home plate meeting. I'm like, look, you want to come out and ask about a ruling on something?
Mm-hmm.
Call timeout. Come on out and ask. As long as you're not screaming and yelling at me, you're fine. You want to start arguing balls and strikes, you're not going to be here very long.
We're going to be here forever, right? Yeah.
You're not going to be. Well, I'll be here, but you won't be there. I will not tolerate that. I've got a much better angle on this than you do coaching
in
down
the
at third
dugout
base.
With Johnny pulling on your leg. Yeah.
And now, with baseball, you can just do the ABS.
Yeah.
And it's like the tennis thing. Balls are in or out. They show it to you right away. There's no such possibility for that mechanism being put into practice in the NFL, though. I don't see how that could be, because the home plate is static. The strike zone may change a little bit by individual batter, but home plate is static. So even trying to use AI or chips in the ball or whatever, for first downs, that's constantly moving. You don't have a situation where the line to gain is always the same line. Okay, now let's try and figure out, did the ball cross that line? Was the knee down first? Those kind of things, because the line's constantly moving too. So, I'll admit it, I'm way not smart enough to figure out how that could even work, or how you would even try to write, the software for that, what that's going to cost, and can you not afford to, but based on the different configurations of the stadiums and how many games are on at the same time and how many games are being played per weekend, is it even feasible? So that's why, I believe that you got to try and do a better job of originally picking people, and the thought process or the hope that technology is going to fix all this. I think technology makes it worse.
Labs, I love what you said earlier. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I love how you phrase it like we should talk about refs like players. I mean, maybe they're not a draft, but I mean, certainly when you get late into your 30s, into your 40s, you're probably not as sharp at your job, and it's a very difficult thing to see, move, all those type of things, or reevaluate them every year, But one thing I've been asked a lot, and I don't know if you have any opinion on. This guy thinks he can run a 6-second 40, by the way. Anyway, one thing I don't have a strong opinion on is I get asked it all the time, should refs be full-time? And I'm like, I guess they'd be better at their job, but you'd lose some good ones that have a insurance company on the side. And really, what would a full-time ref do at Wednesday at 11 a.m.? Do they really,
week 14,
let alone in the off season?
Right. I mean, I don't understand what you gain by making them full-time. And
another thing that I just don't understand is, and this is a procedural thing, and it's been like this as long as I've been doing this. The notion that ball spotting should be done by the same guys who start to play at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Mm-hmm. 20 yards downfield, or
he comes running in from 40 yards away to spot the football.
Guesses. He's guessing.
I still laugh at the change, though. My grandkids are going to laugh that they ran out with this 10-yard chain. Two dudes do that all day. I think that's still insane to me.
There is some charm to it, though.
Sure.
But again, yes, it's ridiculous. But as I said, I just to me the notion that more technology is going to solve it to me is the exact opposite of the reality.
Well, they could fix that whole chain thing by just saying that. I mean, you've got yard markers on the field, so every time you pass a yard marker, you get a new first down. And every time you get a 10-yard marker, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Just get rid of that altogether.
Bring out the index cards and all the nonsense.
Even if you start your drive at the 32, you got to get to the 40 to get a new first down, and then from there you got to get to the 50, and then from the 50 back to the 40.
Oh, I see what you're saying, over the white lines. Okay. Yeah, I don't want 1st and 6.
So you're changing it from 1st and 10 to 1st and whatever.
You get possession at the 24, you got 1st and 6 to start your first drive.
I don't like it at all.
Leave the game the way it is.
It was just something I just thought of it right now as we're sitting here. It was the first time that.
So like Cordero Patterson should go out at the 24-yard line instead of the 25-yard line.
Why would you do that? Because you're still getting a first down at the 30.
It'd be 1st and 6 for your offense.
It'd be instead of 1st and 5.
It'd be 1st and 10 because you get to a white line.
No, every 10
only
yards.
10.
Every 10.
Okay. Well, the 29, not the 30.
You'd still want to get to the 30.
No, I don't like that idea. I don't think that's a solution.
I'm just spitballing, man. We're throwing ideas around here. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Yeah, and anybody who ever told you there's no such thing as a bad idea was lying to you.
That's what we do here, Bob. We throw ideas out there.
We have a lot of time to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's what I said. You got too many hours of talk shows to do.
So Bob, Russell Wilson signs with the New York Football Giants yesterday, ending his 1-year tenure here. Looks like the Steelers will get a compensatory pick in return for that when those are announced next year. Your thoughts on the 1-year tenure of Russell Wilson as the Steelers starting quarterback?
Well, I mean, if the Steelers, let me say it this way: if the Steelers do end up signing a veteran to add to the depth chart at the top of the depth chart,
any names in mind?
Here's my suggestion: no sled pushing.
Yeah, that would be
training
yeah.
camp.
There you go.
Probably a good idea. Leave that to us professionals. We'll be pushing the sleds.
Yeah.
Because that just kind of muddled the whole thing. I mean, Russell Wilson was signed, brought to Pittsburgh to be the starting quarterback. The whole narrative that Justin Fields, and I like Justin Fields, I do. I think he handled himself well throughout his time in Pittsburgh. But the whole notion that he was benched,
it makes us crazy.
It's incorrect.
Yeah. It's incorrect.
It's just not correct.
Yeah. He wasn't treated fairly.
Backup.
He was benched.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
He was the backup, and when the starter was healthy, the starter got the job. It's no different than Terry Bradshaw and Mike Kruzek in 1976.
If Wilson
Mike
never
Kruzek
pushes that sled and injures his calf on the second play of week 1, nobody calls it a benching. If
he
Wilson
never even played in week 1.
That's what. No, I mean, if he never pushes that sled and he is the week 1 starter and instead injures himself the second play of the game, we'd all be like, "Oh, we're just holding down the fort for Wilson," as opposed to Fields got benched.
Or if some people who fall in love with running quarterbacks and think that is the way, and I'm talking about fans, media, and think that that's the way to win a championship, which has never been the case in modern football. I just the whole Justin Fields' qualities that he exhibited during his 6 starts, I thought were way exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said over-exaggerated, but I know Dale would go ding, ding, ding.
No, you two editors would be all over that. Yeah.
That's like re-aggravating an injury.
Yeah.
But he just, his history is as a quarterback in the NFL is that he had a problem diagnosing or figuring out what the defense was doing and where that meant he should go with the ball, and to make that decision in an anticipatory way, and as they say, throw the receiver open. Because if you wait for the receiver to be open and then throw it,
too late.
Right, too late, especially if you're trying to make your money over the middle. So,
got to still win from the pocket.
Right. Going back to Russell Wilson, I think one of the things that ended up hurting him here was that he was a little bit too much of a gambler. Russell Wilson liked to, go for it, attack down the field, and that's an admirable quality for a quarterback. I'm sure that helped him in his time in Seattle when he won a Super Bowl and took the team to a second one. But a team's tolerance for that kind of stuff grows based on your time together. Having the ability to audible with the full menu at your disposal is something that I believe, in the reality of the NFL, is something the quarterback has to earn with that coach, with that coordinator, with that team's management. Sure, Ben Roethlisberger could do that, but do you think he was doing that when he was a rookie? Or even in 2006, 07? I mean, it just doesn't work that way. And so all the chafing about he doesn't get the chance to audible, well, maybe that there was some basis for that or some history there that, and it was, well, Russell Wilson wasn't, and I don't know where this information came from, so I'm just repeating it. I don't even know if it's true. But Russell Wilson was not allowed to audible during the December 1st game against Cincinnati where the Steelers scored 44 points. Well, maybe that game, instead of showing people why it was a good thing that they weren't letting him do that, because as he was following the program, so to speak, the offense had a pretty good game. Plus the Bengals defense stunk. So, but that's always kind of
helpful, yeah.
Brushed off to the back. So anyway, my point is that, Russell Wilson was a first-year Steelers quarterback, and I think in his mind, he was a 12-year veteran Steelers quarterback. He was maybe a 12 or 13-year NFL veteran quarterback, but what you did in Seattle in 20 whatever year they won the Super Bowl doesn't carry any weight for me now in 2024. That doesn't carry any weight. It doesn't allow me or me as the team to extend to you the same leeway and trust instantly that you developed, based on what you had done over the course of time. It's unfortunate, but I just think that to me, the worst part of it was that he didn't get to start the season, and then circumstances as they existed and the way the season ended. I don't know that it would have been healthy for anyone to run that one back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our guest has been Bob Labriola, the editor of Steelers Digest and Steelers.com, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears. Labs, we appreciate your time as always. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I believe the league has been listening to the show.
Oh, yeah?
Because
as they should.
Part of the competition committee proposals on a tweak to the kickoff rule is that they would allow onside kicks at any time during the game. You just have to be trailing.
I don't know why that matters, but fair enough. You still have to announce it.
You got to announce it, but you can do it at any time during the game.
Okay. They made so many changes to the kickoff rule 1 year ago. They probably just took it a little too far with that one. Why bother? To make it a fourth quarter only thing. If you want to do it in the opening kickoff, you should have every right. Doesn't mean it's smart, but you should have the right to do it.
What the league is not considering is the fourth and long thing instead of the onside kick.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that makes
dumb.
Good. I'm glad they're not going to waste their breath on that.
That's the same thing as having a shootout in hockey, which is dumb. That's the same
it's
thing
a difference. It'd be like having a home run derby in baseball or something.
Or a three-point shooting contest, or a spelling contest.
Let's have a spelling bee, right?
To settle anything.
Right, right.
Yes, it's part of the game, but it's not.
Not really. A shootout isn't. I can live with hockey
get it.
playing
It's
3-on-3 and 4-on-4 because they don't want overtime after overtime after overtime. But it's not the game. To me, that's crazy to me. Right?
Yeah. So, fourth and long to keep the ball. Mm-hmm. You can already if you want to keep the ball. Obviously, it would be in a scoring situation, so you get the ball back, but. You have the opportunity to go for fourth down anytime you want during the game.
Anytime you want, right.
Why add another instance to it?
It's nitpicky, and I'm glad that they are going to consider changing it to any time in the game, back to the original conversation. But I don't even know why you have to be losing. What if you're tied? What if you're winning by 30 and you want to kick an onside kick? Who cares? Do it.
You could always just...
Doesn't mean it's smart.
You could always just tell your place kicker, hey, we're going to flub this... We're gonna flub the point after here, so it's 7-6 right now, but we want to go onside with the next one, or maybe go for two every time, and you just say, hey, if we don't get it, we're gonna go onside. Again, I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I'd say that's not your best idea either. They still have like a 3% success rate or something
I understand
insane. You know, that I would, again, I don't have the answer. I'm not smart enough. I wish there was a better percentage of being able to get on an onside kick, but I do like the kickoff rule as it is, and I'd like it a lot more if it's a 35-yard touchback than before. I think that's a really good.
I think that would change some things because
you'll get more returns.
The difference between where the ball was returned to and getting the ball to, it was like
I thought
yard.
It was like a 27 or 8.
It was
or
like
that.
a yard.
Yeah, it was a little yeah.
So it really didn't matter all that much.
Right.
Well, now if you make it to 35,
but
it's
your
still,
point yesterday was
it's
great.
only 5 yards, but
if I get 2 first downs, I probably have a field goal
right.
chance. I mean, that's not that much to ask. Or one long completion gets me 3 points if you're going to blast it out of the end zone. Okay, that'll add scoring.
Yeah, and there'll be some instances where, again, the kick coverage is going to matter more because if I can pin somebody back inside the 20, that's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference. If you're really good at it and you can get that ball to land inside the 5 pretty consistently and your coverage is great, that's a lot different than a 35-yard start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's big.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the drive here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. And it's Wednesday, which means it's our turn to do a little mock draft madness here.
All right.
We're going to use the ProFootballNetwork.com mock drafter today. And we're up at pick 21, and we have 2 trade offers. The first one is from the Rams. They're offering us, they want 21 and pick 229.
Okay.
They're offering us pick 26 and next year's second.
I bet we could get more out of them. Could we get a 4th this year thrown in or something like that?
Typically, they don't do that on this one. But
really? I don't know how the simulator works.
They usually come to you with their best offer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not like, okay.
The Vikings are offering pick 24 and next year's 4th for pick 21.
That's not enough. A playoff team's 4th-round pick to move up in the first round? Come on.
The guy's still available right now. Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia.
That might be the target of some of these teams.
Yeah.
But maybe not those 2 particularly.
James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Siobhan Revelle, cornerback out of East Carolina. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. Nick Scourton, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. He ran a 4.48 today at Ohio State.
Oh, did he? Okay. Notorious fast track.
At Ohio State.
Be, yeah.
So automatically I'm going to add 0.05 to that. So he's really a mid 4.5.
That's like how he plays, too.
Yeah. Luther Burden, a wide receiver out of Missouri. Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who apparently pulled a hamstring today while he was running his 40.
Okay. Man, he's not going to run 40 yards.
Yeah, I don't care if he's running 40s. Gray Zabel, Walter Nolan, Donovan Ezereku, Kenneth Grant is there, Amarian Hampton, running back out of North Carolina, Donovan Jackson. There's some targets there if we wanted to move down.
With Grant and Nolan still available, I'm all for trading down. I don't know the sites or the simulators well enough. I'm not super interested in next year's 4th. Sort of interested in next year's 2nd, but
I would prefer this year's 2nd.
Yeah, because I know it's tough from where you sit, too, to make a move trading next year's 3rd and the Rams 2nd so we can get the 50th pick in the draft this year. You know, I mean, that's not always easy to pull off. And I don't know if teams want future picks, if they want to get out of the 2nd,
Yeah.
But we can't really counter.
The Rams don't have a 2nd this year. That's the problem.
I know.
So we could accept that, bump back 5 spots, and then try to trade.
I'm fine with it. I mean, we opened the show saying
it's a fair deal.
It's not a bad offer at all, right? I mean, I do think that's a late 2nd, most likely. I don't think they're going to pick the top 10, which is something you have to think about, but you never know.
Well, they could if Stafford got hurt.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I didn't think Washington would be a Final Four team either. I'm for it. But it is going to be stressful on you if there's some kind of target of ours that's hard to, because we really only have future picks to offer.
Yeah,
I don't really want to get rid of the 3rd this year.
Yeah, let me see what else. Well,
but all this could end up landing your next Pat Mahomes, folks. Your next Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
I mean, it's just a year down the road. It takes. And if you get the same guy at 26 that you would have taken at 21, which to me is probably Grant or Nolan, well, then I got a second-round pick next year.
All right.
And would
so you want
really
me to accept
lose?
it?
Yeah, that's fun.
All right, I'll
see what
accept
happens. Right.
All right. So I'm going to move out of this here real quick. They did come up for Jalen Walker.
Okay. Not really even a need for the Rams, but I'm sure he was high on everyone's board.
Then Jahdae Barron went. James Pierce, Siobhan Ravel, Nick Scourton to the Cowboys.
Okay, great.
We're up at 26, and we do have, again, another trade offer. We have two, actually. The Bears are offering pick 30 in next year's third for pick 26.
Insanely loaded with picks.
Yeah.
We're at 26 now, yeah.
Yeah. The Chargers are offering 55.86 next year's 2 and next year's 3 for pick 26. That's getting a little,
I mean, it's fair, but I'd like to make some picks
little
today.
crazy, yeah.
Right. What about, do you want to do the other one? The first one?
Not really. I want to make a pick.
But we only moved down. I mean, with,
We're gonna. Well,
with
we
Grant
would.
and Nolan still
We
there.
would be
that's
moving
why.
down past Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, Washington, and Washington, because it looks like
Washington twice.
Buffalo traded up. No, just Washington once.
Oh, okay.
Buffalo traded up to go get Derek Harmon at 20. They moved up ahead of us.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean, if we move back, some of these other teams, like Kansas City, could bump up ahead of us.
They could.
I'd rather just take the player.
That's fine. I mean, the future pick doesn't do us all that much good for today, honestly. But
Nolan or Grant.
going back and forth on that too. Like,
I mean, we talked about it yesterday, and I think Nolan is harder to find in this draft
that's
as opposed
why
to Grant.
I keep kicking it around because I really like the draft too, and it's much easier to do if you take Nolan now versus Grant. But I also think Grant could be Benton and be nose or end, or you know what I mean. Like he
could kill
only one.
He could
spot.
handle both spots, and
Yeah.
then you throw one in late. It's a really developmental guy.
Let's take Nolan.
Okay, Walter Nolan. It is.
I love the 4th round nose tackles. Is basically where we come around.
I'm going to
to
pause this thing in the middle
round 2
of round 2 and see if we can
Let's
maybe
see what's out there.
finagle something to get back up in there. All right, we're at 48 now.
Okay.
Kenneth Grant's still available. By the way. Crazy.
I'd be interested.
Well, in that case, that might be a target if we're trying to get up
I
there.
would give up a lot for him right now.
So Miami is up. Let's see if Miami would be interested. We would give up the Rams too.
They're going to want this year's 3rd, though. That's what makes it hairy.
I'm going to offer.
What about the Steelers?
I'm going to
3rd
offer
and the
our
Rams?
second and next year's 3rd
That's really our bargaining chips. That's what makes it tough.
for pick 48.
Yeah.
They might accept it. They might not. I mean, it's a fair offer.
Right. They just don't get to pick this.
They declined it.
Okay. You going to let it go 3 or 4 more picks?
I mean, yeah, we'll see if somebody else. I mean, if Grant stays available, I'm
Sure.
going to try again. Okay, we're at 52 with the Seahawks. This is where we would have picked originally.
Okay.
I'm going to.
But I would definitely give up the Steelers 3rd and the Rams 2nd next year for Kenneth Grant. Even
Without a
with
doubt,
Nolan.
yeah.
Without a doubt.
Without
no
a
matter
doubt.
when you.
Imagine
when
if
it
you got
happens.
Nolan and Grant.
Oh, right. I mean, that's,
Forget about
I
it.
might be done. I mean,
I don't care what else I get in this draft. All right, so Seattle. I'm going to offer them the 2 and a 3 for the 52nd pick. They rejected it.
I mean, it's going to be tough because, I mean, I know this is a computer, this isn't real people, but if
You want picks this year.
if you want to pick this year,
Yeah.
we're not helping you, right? And I don't really want to get rid of the 3rd.
And he just went.
Okay.
Did he go to Green Bay? Took him.
Yeah, good for them. They should.
Yeah. All right, we're going to resume here. I'm going to pause again here. We're at the top of round 3.
Okay, so the second round went by.
Yeah. Judkins is still there.
Okay.
Braden Swinson, edge rusher out of LSU. Darius Alexander is still there. Travion Henderson is still there. Jalen Noel, Alfred Collins.
Collins is interesting.
There's some
Judkins
guys
is
that-
interesting.
Yeah, if I could try to get up here. Kansas City is the team who is on the clock here.
Probably with the Titans pick now that I think about it.
Yeah. So I'm going to.
Real quick, would you give up this year's 3rd and next year's 3rd for Judkins?
That's what we're going to try. Well, I don't know. We're not going to. I don't want to give up.
I know it's a different conversation.
Well, yeah, because you're at 83 now. Would I give up next year's third? Then becomes the question. Knowing that I have a compensatory pick.
I mean, I would definitely give up the third and next year's fourth.
We also now have an extra second next year.
That's what I mean. You're sitting on a 1, 2 2s, maybe 3 3s, probably 2 3s, and a bunch of 4s.
Would I be happy, though, just getting out of this draft Nolan and Judkins?
And be loaded for next year.
Yeah.
I mean, and you get some spare pieces, but right. That's my question. Would you give up next year's third and this third? I would offer this year's third and next year's fourth, but I think they're going to say yes.
I'm going to offer our pick 123.
And Judkins is our target? Is that what we agree on?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm interested in Collins, too.
I'm going to offer pick 123 in next year's third.
123.
That's our fourth round pick. So I'm offering a fourth round pick in next year's third.
And we'd keep our third for this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I would do that in a heartbeat. I don't think they're going to say yes.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
For pick 66. No, they rejected that.
Okay.
I can sweeten it a little bit. Would you do... Where are they at? Kansas City, where are you at?
How about this year's... You offered this year's fourth and next year's third. Would you give up the Rams' second straight up for Judkins? I think I would.
Yeah, because it's going to be in the similar area in next year's draft. To get Judkins right now, I think I would.
Yeah, I'll give you next year's two, ours or the Rams.
I'll even throw in a sweet. I'll give you like a 6 next year because we got 2 of those.
Yeah. I mean, they'd have to get out of this draft, but
that was rejected.
Okay.
Turning down a 2 for next year.
You want to let it roll 3 or 4 picks?
We can.
I mean, this is an early 3, and you're offering a late 2 a year from now.
Well, he's gone.
Okay.
And our pick is almost up. It went very fast.
Okay.
Who took him?
Yeah.
Who took him? Oh, the Chiefs took him. So
there
you go. They were
set on their dude.
Set on their guy. All right, so we're back.
All right,
up
what's
here.
sitting there?
Travion Henderson.
I'm interested.
Yeah. Jalen Noel.
Interested.
Wide receiver out of Iowa State. Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. Xavier Estrepo, wide receiver from Miami. Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State. Barrett Carter, linebacker at Clemson. Chris Paul, linebacker out of Ole Miss. Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle out of Tennessee. Ashton Gillette, edge rusher out of Louisville. DJ Giddens, running back out of K-State. Elijah Rojo. Quinn Ewers is there at the quarterback position. Cam Scatabo, running back out of Arizona State.
I think it comes on Noel and Henderson.
Will Howard is there, quarterback out of Ohio State. Josh Farmer still there.
I bet there's a couple noses around from now, though.
Yeah.
But do you have to take Henderson?
I think you do.
I mean, that's a nice value, getting him that late.
Yeah.
I'm a Noel fan. I hate kind of walking away from him because it's kind of a gift. But where you sit right now, someone's got to carry the ball.
Somebody's got to carry the ball. Henderson's very good in pass protection.
Yeah. Which is really rare in this running back class.
Really rare, yeah.
2 things I've really noticed lately. None of the wide receivers block, and none of the running backs are good in protection. And I think it's just NIL.
Yeah.
I got millions in the bank. I'm not bothered.
I'm not doing that.
They're just acting like they're professionals, big man on campus nowadays. People don't do the dirty work anymore.
And I know Travion Henderson showed up at the combine at 202. So
he's bigger than that.
He plays about 210.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a small back.
Right. No, I got no problem. I mean,
and again, he is willing to get his nose dirty.
I mean, if you told me today the genie comes out of the bottle, you trade your 3rd-round pick for Henderson, yeah.
He was the #1 running back recruit in the country, and we got the #1 overall recruit in the country.
Oh, right. Okay.
These guys are high pedigree dudes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I think you take Henderson. I think you just.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Then the question becomes: do you want to try to trade back up again? Can we?
I would consider Noel or a D tackle or.
Noel is still there at pick 90. The Rams are up. Would the Rams take him?
Would they take would you offer your second rounder straight up for him?
Give it back to them?
Yeah.
Or
You
give
hold
them
on to
our
it,
second round pick. Not a 2 for pick 90. I don't.
I'd say I think that's as rich as I would even consider.
So I'm going to. Rams, we already did business once. Let's see if we can do it again here. Because they have pick 101 coming up, too. They could be willing to.
Okay.
Now, they haven't made a pick since the first round.
I doubt it would get it done, but would our 4th this year and our 4th next year get you Noel?
No.
Okay. I was coming in kind of cheap there.
Yeah.
How about your 4th this year and a 3rd next year? And is that worth it to us? It's probably a nose at 4.
I would want to get something back from them later in this draft too. They've got a bunch They've got a bunch of picks coming up. If I'm trading,
if you get a 5 or even a 6.
If I'm trading a 3 next year, which I've already bumped up from my 2 that they already gave me, it's like having that extra 3rd already. But I just moved it ahead of a full round.
So if we get
more than a full round, really, because that's a compensatory pick, and now we're. So if I give them 123, if I offer them 123 in next year's 3rd.
For this pick and question mark.
Let's say pick 190.
It's fair.
They accepted it.
Okay.
All right, so now we can. You want to take Jalen Noel here?
Yeah.
Wait a second. It accepted it, and then we didn't get to make the pick. And we didn't have our 4.
They took our picks and didn't give us a player.
What the heck's going on here with this? Unless it did give me Noel and I missed.
Well, we can pretend that on our screen it says we has Noel. Even the people watching don't know.
Instead, the Carolina Panthers made that pick. How did that work?
And we lost our pick?
And we lost our pick.
Well, if the trade went through, let's say we got Noel.
We got Noel, but we should have had a pick at. Well,
no, we traded our 4th.
No, we traded that one.
Yeah.
They took Ollie Gordon. That's some BS. Anyway, so yeah, we got Jalen Noel. We're back up now at 156.
This is 5th round?
Yeah, this is 5th round.
Okay.
Best players available. Dylan Gabriel, quarterback out of Oregon. J.J. Pegues, defensive nose tackle out of Ole Miss. Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State. Well, we don't need another one of those.
I was watching him. He's better than I thought, too.
He's good.
Yeah,
I like him
really
a lot.
Good. Yeah.
Some drop issues, but
yeah.
He gets open. He who shall not be named at quarterback.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Riley Leonard, quarterback out of Notre Dame. Tommy Hill, cornerback out of Nebraska. Elijah Roberts, defensive tackle out of SMU. And he's a little light. It would be more of an end in this defense. Jalen Rivers, offensive tackle out of Miami. Jalen Lane, wide receiver, Virginia Tech.
I'm a big Jalen Lane fan, but we just took one.
Yeah. Jonah Monheim, center from USC. I'm not going to go too deep in this. I think you take Pegues.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a nice pick in the 5th. So what do we have left? I'm real confused.
We have 185 and 190. So we have 2 picks left.
And next year, the only change is we traded our 3rd for the Rams' 2nd.
Yes.
Basically, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a good deal.
Yeah, that's wonderful, right.
And we got the guy, we still got the guy we wanted in the first round.
Exactly. And we got Judkins.
Huge, yeah. So 185. Elijah Roberts still there, defensive tackle out of SMU. Jake Majors, the center out of Texas. Aeneas Peebles, defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. Ty Robinson, defensive tackle.
He's kind of like the Shuck cheat code almost too at this point.
He should not be.
Yeah.
Should not be down there. Corey Kiner, running back out of Cincinnati. Mitchell Evans, tight end out of Notre Dame. I like that.
He's a good player. Yeah.
Jay Higgins, linebacker out of Iowa. Marcus Tate, guard out of Clemson. Jordan James, running back out of Oregon. Tim Smith, defensive tackle out of Alabama. We just did that, though. Connor Colby, guard out of Iowa. Tyler Cooper, guard out of Minnesota.
None of the names are jumping out.
Is there a position that you want to hit here?
I was about to say O-line's my favorite.
Josh Gray is there.
That's not bad.
Guard.
The tight end from Notre Dame's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like best player on the board to me, but I'd love to get an offensive lineman here.
Dalton Cooper, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State, is the top-rated offensive tackle. Jackson Hawes is there if you're looking for a blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm. Would you rather go with the athletic tight end or the blocking tight end?
Could you use Jackson Hawes? Could you switch him to fullback?
Yeah, I mean,
I think you could.
I mean, I don't know if switch. I would think,
or
he's
just
still a line. I mean,
line him in the back. He is a nasty, nasty blocker.
We just drafted Pegas.
We
That's
did do
our
that
fullback.
too.
Right?
Okay,
Hadn't thought of that. Yeah,
but he's been a running fullback.
Oh, I know.
Which is crazy, but yeah, I mean, you could do some things there. Curtis Rourke is there.
Yeah, that's intriguing.
Let's take a look at positions because that's what you do at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
You're not best player available. None
of those
O-linemen
blew me away.
Quarterback, you're looking at Curtis Rourke, Max Brosmer, Brady Cook. Those are the top. Taylor Elgersma is there, but offensive tackle, Dalton Cooper, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon from Florida, Jalen Travis from Iowa State, Gerard Christian Lichtenhan from Oregon State, Caleb Rogers from Texas Tech.
I don't know enough about any of those guys. Just get on the table for them.
The guards, Marcus Tate from Clemson, Connor Colby from Iowa, Tyler Cooper from Minnesota, Josh Gray from Oregon State, Willie Lampkin from North Carolina.
Gray's interesting. We drafted him the other day.
Yeah, Xavier Truss.
What about a corner?
I don't know if we're going to find a corner help this late. Noah Williams.
Hey, he's not bad.
Out of Cal. Justin Whaley out of Minnesota. Jalen Smith out of USC. I'm just looking here to see if
Williams would be interesting, but he'd be pretty buried on the depth chart at corner. And I don't know that he's like Slay's replacement, you know.
Edge, you got Quay Robinson out of Alabama, Tyler Batty out of BYU, Elijah Williams out of Morgan State, Johnny Walker out of Missouri. Put him in red. Baron Sorrell out of Texas, R.J. Oben out of Notre Dame, Ahmad Hassanin out of Boise State.
We rarely do it, and you brought it up the other day, but a late-round edge shouldn't be you shouldn't turn your nose up at. No, you could do that.
Yeah.
There's a roster spot for that guy possibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd consider one of the tight ends. None of the names really jumped out at me. I like Gray, the guard / center from Oregon State, too.
I mean, if we're taking a tight end here, I want Jackson Hawes.
Okay.
They
certainly have that player profile on the team. You know, the big, hard to play against, nasty blocker.
He is nasty.
Not every team uses it, but the Steelers sure do.
He is
good,
amazingly nasty.
Yeah, I got no problem with that at all.
And now we're up at 190, so you're going to look at a lot of
It'd be popular around here.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the same players available here at 190. I'm going to take a look at those edge guys again. Just seeing if anybody else jumps out at me here. That's getting pretty low in there. Robinson, 6'4", 243, out of Alabama.
So the edge guys?
Yeah. Batty. I mean, this is a deep edge draft.
Mm-hmm.
Batty's a bigger 6'5", 271.
I haven't done a lot of homework on 6th or 7th round edges.
Yeah, Elijah Williams. 6'2", 294 is an edge.
Wow.
Looks like a Walker, 6'2", 249. Baron Sorrell. Looked at him a little bit. 6'3", 256.
I'd consider him.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are going to have to make
not much of a run
stuffer,
teams. But
right.
He's got size to.
There's some athleticism there, and
I think you just take Quay Robinson and
that's fine.
Be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama edge rusher, okay.
Yeah, probably has some pedigree.
I would think.
Yeah. Is that our last pick?
That was our last pick, so we're letting this run out here.
And we did move up around in next year.
I can't believe they screwed us on the. I don't understand that at all. It's never done that before. So we ended up with pick 26 after moving back with Walter Nolan. We also got the Rams' second-round pick next year. Travion Henderson at pick 83. That was a gift. We then traded back in to get Jalen Noel, moving our third-round pick next year. At 156, we took J.J. Pegues, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss.
It's fun.
185 was Jackson Hawes, tight end out of Georgia Tech. And at 190, Quay Robinson, edge rusher out of Alabama. We didn't take a quarterback.
Right.
But
planning on it next year.
Now we got two second-round picks. We got our first.
Yeah. I mean,
we got
I feel pretty
more
confident that you're going to have 4 second-day picks next year, as well as multiple fourths.
Yeah.
That's a lot of firepower.
A lot of firepower to make that move to go get a quarterback, whoever that may be.
And who knows? I mean, we're really getting ahead of ourselves. But in that instance, if we're sitting here 365 days from now, I would give you next year's first to move up in the first round, maybe the following year's first, and sitting there with my 2 twos, someone might offer me next year's first for one of my 2s, when that time comes around.
Yeah,
that's kind of how that works. So you might be able to recoup your 1.
If I told you right now the first 3 rounds of the Steelers draft was Nolan, Henderson, and Noel. That's what they got out of the first 3 rounds.
I'd probably take it.
I would.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
considering they don't have a second-round pick as we speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that part you need to factor in.
You do have to factor that in. And, oh, by the way, you got DK Metcalf.
Then, yes.
You've made your offense better. I think Nolan makes your defense better. You also got Pegues as a developmental nose tackle.
Mm-hmm. I've heard some people mention to me on Twitter, like, you brought up Noel a few times, you and Dale. Isn't he too small? He's really thick.
He's like 5'11" and 200 pounds.
Right. He's not just a little player that plays little either. He's not as big as George and DK.
Right.
But he's
not a little receiver.
He's not Austin.
No.
By any stretch.
No,
I think he's somewhere exactly right in between where you want.
He's 30 pounds heavier than Calvin Austin.
Yeah. And so I just think there's a misconception. You guys keep talking about this little receiver. I'm like, I don't think he's little.
No.
Right.
No, that has changed so much. That perception has changed. He's bigger than Antonio Brown was.
I actually thought the same thing, too.
Like Antonio Brown was 5'10" and, 185 pounds.
Yeah, they're not even really close.
No.
Right.
So anyway.
Just to fill people in on the prospect a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's a pretty thickly built guy.
Yeah, and a return guy and fast.
Probably I'm trying to think who else he's built like, but I didn't have a great one there.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves from 4 to 6 p.m. You can also download the Steelers mobile app, get the show there. And you can watch along on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there. It helps the algorithms and everything. You can leave us your questions and comments on there as well. Of course, Sunday through Tuesday of next week, we'll have a bonus 3-hour show.
Yeah.
So
Max Starks is going to join us for an hour, it sounds like.
Get more Starks. People like that from the Combine.
I got a lot of good responses, rightfully so. Max brings a new perspective and, really smart guy.
You don't have to listen to us drone on.
Right. And some of his O-line insights are really, really strong, too.
Yeah. Speaking of insights and strong insights, on NFL.com today, Lance Zierlein, who does all their analysts on the draft, or analysis on the draft, I should say, ranks the position groups in this year's draft. He does this every year, and we go over this.
You gonna start weakest to strongest?
It's not all that surprising, but he does. So the way he does this here is he polled, he rated each group where prospects will be drafted in rounds 1 through 5. He weighted star players a little bit more, or twice as heavily as overall depth, and gave them each a score between 10 and 30. A score of 20 points or higher for a position group is considered strong.
Okay. I hadn't seen that way of doing it. People just usually say running back's better than linebacker.
Well, this just gives you a little different perspective on it.
Okay, cool.
So safety is his number 11 position, 13.5 points. We just previewed safeties on Steelers.com today, and I would completely agree with this.
I say off-the-ball linebackers close for me, too.
The three of us, me, you, and Mike Pursuta, that do that, had the same exact top 5.
Really?
Because that's the top 5 at the safety position.
And there's not a whole lot else. And I had a hard time digging up a sleeper that I was super excited about either. I don't know, off-ball linebacker wasn't real rip-roaring fun either, though.
Yeah. I like that position better than safety.
Do you?
I do.
So they would be my 2 contenders. Side note, does he break down interior O-line and tackle or just O-line?
I don't. Well, there's
I guess we'll come to
11
that.
positions. You'll find out.
Yeah.
His number 10 position, quarterback, 14 points.
I think it's a little harsh. I think Ward's a really good prospect. And I like the third, fourth round neighborhood.
Ward's a good prospect, but he's not a generational talent. I think he could be a good quarterback. I don't think he can be necessarily a top 10 quarterback.
Okay. I like him better than that. I think
he can
really
be in
good
that
prospect.
11, 12, 13 range if things work out for him.
Okay. I like him better than that. I'm not saying he's the next Mahomes or Allen.
Like, is he going to be better than who's number 10 right now?
I think he could be better than Hurts or Dak or Stroud. Ahead of Love. Could. I'm not predicting it. Right.
Yeah. That's who those guys are right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the neighborhood.
And the landing spot isn't going to be great for him.
Oh, no,
to work out that way.
Yeah, that's not his fault, though. But, yeah, it's going to be an uphill climb.
And, again, I think Sanders is a fine prospect. But if he's your number 2 prospect.
Oh, that part I don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's some mid-round guys that I like, but I
just don't love the misnomer of this is a terrible quarterback draft. I'm like,
it's okay.
It's not as good as last year, that's for sure. But I don't know that it's horrendous. It's not Ritter and Howe.
Like Ward's going to go number 1 overall, more than likely.
Yeah.
And I don't know that anybody's saying he shouldn't go number 1 overall.
No.
Even though he's, maybe he's a top 12 to 15 guy in this particular draft, but just because the top of this draft, there aren't stars.
No. I mean, I love Hunter. I think Carter's even a little overrated. I mean, I think Graham's overrated. Whoever O-line won.
See Campbell, by the way, 33-inch arms today at the LSU Pro Day.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's kind of funny, too.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
And that was measured by an NFL scout, not somebody at LSU.
Well, who did it at the Senior Bowl or whatever, though?
Well, you know how that goes.
Right,
I mean,
right.
He was
at the Combine.
He was this close to having 33-inch arms.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's like the Milroe hand thing, though.
Stretched his arms out a little bit more today, and he's got the thing about Campbell. I didn't mean to go down this street.
Yeah.
He was a true freshman starter at LSU, at left tackle in the SEC. That matters to me.
Oh, it definitely
matters. This guy
matters.
walked off his high school campus. He graduated, threw his cap in the air, and walked into LSU and became a starting left tackle in the SEC. He's a tackle.
And blocked Will Anderson.
Yeah, he is an offensive tackle. I don't care how long his arms are.
I definitely would start him there.
Yeah.
With the trampoline or the parachute.
Whether his arm length, though, is 32 5/8, which is, I think, what it was.
I didn't remember where it was.
Or 33 inches. You're talking about this much, 3/8 of an inch.
However, the one thing I'll dispute you on is at the Combine it was under, and at his pro day it was at 33. I mean, it's like, who's doing these measurements? There's a couple arm lengths like that and the Milroe hand thing.
I saw something. Somebody said all of the arm lengths at the Combine this year were shorter.
There's more to this story. That's what I'm saying.
They were shorter than they had been at the Senior Bowl. They were shorter than they had been at the
There's something going on with it. He's not the only one. But if I'm picking, frankly, as high as 4 and as late as maybe like 11, I'm going to have him in for a visit, and I'm going to put a ruler on it.
That's fine.
Right.
But I know he can play offensive line in the NFL and be really good at it.
I mean, it's funny. I'm a big Duke Manyweather fan who's like the O-line guru. And I happen to listen. I say this every day, I feel like. I was listening to a podcast with Duke Manyweather on it. And he's like, yes, under 33 is bad. But if you have super light feet, you have to have super light feet.
And he does. Yeah, you have to.
And you have to have super light feet. And he's like, Campbell does. Yeah. And I agree with that.
Yeah. At 9 is linebacker at 16.5 points. Well, I think that's true. I do like some of those mid-round linebackers, Schlesinger, Demetrius Knight. He's a little bit older, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Jihad Campbell, Jalen Walker, I think both could be first-round picks, and I think both are off-ball linebackers.
Yeah, I don't think Walker is. That's why I didn't include – that's why I was lower on the linebackers. I think Campbell will be drafted as an off-the-ball linebacker that can rush the passer. I think Walker is going to be an edge that can drop, which I'm not sure if either is great. But full discrepancy, linebacker is definitely the position I've done the least work on. I don't think the Steelers are involved.
7, tied for 7th, is interior offensive line.
Yeah, I think that's
17
safe.
points.
there might not be a starting center in the group. If so, there's one or two, if Zabel's one of them.
And he says in here, this could change if Armand Membo, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks move the guard. Then it
become really strong.
Then it becomes,
would be really bad.
Now you've got 3 first-round guards. And
Yeah. Well, then tackle would be horrible.
Yeah. 7, tied for 7th at 17 points, is cornerback.
Okay. I don't know who I'd pick ahead of him. I'm starting to think
I agree with that because I think
there's a lot of red flags.
There are a lot of red flags on a lot of these different guys. Like the Florida State kid ran a 4.57.
Mm-hmm. Like I love Ravel, but he's not healthy.
Will Johnson hasn't run yet, and he's not expected to be a burner either. Yeah. There's again a lot of that. Well, this guy he's coming off of an ACL injury.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's coming off a foot injury. This guy's got this. That guy's got that. Now, Travis Hunter.
I say, where are we counting him?
Yeah.
He sways things a lot for me.
Yeah, he's considering him a cornerback in this one. So that gives you your star power there. And I do think there are some corners in this draft that could turn out to be good players.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of question marks with this group.
Wide receiver is the other one I would consider for this spot, off the top of my head. Well, maybe tackle. Because I think the other positions are strong.
Yeah.
Running back, D-line, edge, tight end. I mean, I don't think receiver's strong. But if I'm treating Hunter as a receiver and not a corner, that might be enough for me to go receiver over corner.
Well, receiver is 6th at 17.5 points. But you have to also look at it. Okay, you got Golden, Burden, McMillan, and there'll be some other guys in that group that go in the second round, the third,
Sure. That's true at corner, though, too. I mean, it's not going to be devoid of first.
But I don't know that there aren't as many question marks at wide receivers in terms of injury stuff.
And I don't know how much this should count, but just compared to most receiver classes, this is light.
It's a bad, That's why it's 6th here.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get into, again, if it's 20 or more points, then it's a really good group. Offensive tackle is 5th with 18 points.
I would not consider that a really good group.
It's about an average group.
Mm-hmm. And I assume they're counting all the potential guards as tackles for now, as I would.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Tight end is 18.5 points. That's 4th.
All these other ones I think are good.
Yeah. You got two stars there. You got some depth at the position. I think it's a good one. He mentions Thomas Fadone as an underrated third-day pick, as is Jackson Haas, a late-round run blocker.
Yeah.
Take him, put him at fullback.
I like the Georgia kid. I mean, I think there's a couple dudes in the mid-rounds that could be decent. I'm not big on Fannin. I don't quite buy that one, but I think the top 4 are going to go pretty high.
Number 3 on here is interior defensive line, 22 points. So that's above average. He said there hasn't been a draft with more than 11 defensive tackles taken in the first 100 picks since 2016. He said
we could get to 11.
There were 14 that year. He said this year could match that total.
Wow. So he thinks it's clearly over 11. I'm not adding them up in my mind, but that seems to add up to me.
He said there should be 4 first-rounders who could all become stars: Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. We know all about those guys. He said, but the most impressive part of this group is how many quality starters it's likely to produce. T.J. Sanders, Josh Farmer, Tyleek Williams could all go in the second round. The run on tackle should be heavy throughout day 2 of this draft. The position is not only deep, but filled with more pass rush potential than we usually see.
I mean, our regular listeners probably don't even need to hear this again, but I think you're going to get 4th-round noses and 5th-round noses, too.
Because of the pass rush potential.
100%. They're valuable guys. I'm not splitting hairs, but I do think, yes, there's a really good chance there's 4 defensive tackles in the first round, but maybe only 1 when the Steelers are on the clock.
Right.
You know what
Which
I mean?
is typically what's been happening with our mock drafts.
Yeah. They might all go to playoff teams.
Yeah. 2 is running back, 24 points.
Really good.
Yeah.
If Hampton's your number 2 and you have the depth there, it's pretty strong.
Yeah. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. And then you're looking at even guys like Bashal Tootin, Dylan Sampson, Trevor Etienne, Jaden Blue. I mean, these guys are going to be contributors early on. I
wasn't a huge Bucky Irving fan, or this kind of discredited him a little bit last year. And he went in the 4th round, the 5th round.
4th round guy.
There'll be 2 of them this year, too.
Oh, yeah.
That are mid-round picks that have 1,000 yards out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's going to happen again.
That leaves as number 1 edge defender at 26.5 points. And again, when we do our mock drafts, I mean, there's like 8 of these guys that might go in the first round.
From 285 pounds to 240 pounds, too.
Yeah.
But they're all lined up on the edge, 2-point, 3-point stance, but there's a wide variety. I'm glad the Steelers aren't in that market, and I think that's the position that our fans, Steeler fans, want to draft another edge, draft another edge, draft another edge. You want them to fly off the board.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to dip your toe in that water.
It would be, but
and
again, as we just did in our mock draft, that edge defender who's going to be available in the 6th round, like what we just did, in most years probably goes in the 3rd or 4th round.
I'd say if that's a 4th-round player in the 6th, then I'm interested.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a ripple effect, but
because it's such a good position this year.
It is.
And,
you agree it's number 1?
I think so. Yeah, just because of the volume.
There's going to be 6 first-rounders.
And Carter's going to go early, and so you get a little bit of star power there, but there might be 6 of those guys who go in the top 20, if not more.
Good. And it's not just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but I mean, I think people are going to be looking at developmental edge. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, tiebreaker.
Right size. He's got the speed. He bends off the edge. Like, there's just a lot of those guys this year. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that the Steelers needs, going into this draft, running back, interior defensive line, 2 of the top 3 positions.
It's not an accident.
Not an accident.
You set yourself up to swim in the deepest waters.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean you trade T.J. Watt so you can go in the edge waters. Right?
No, that's not how you want to do that. But certainly works out well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good situation.
Those were Lance Zierlein's rankings. We talk about Lance a lot on here because he does the draft analysis for NFL.com. You can check that out on NFL.com. But he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt,
that break took a turn of events I wasn't expecting. Inside joke.
Well, just don't show up wearing your Scream mask tomorrow.
Yikes.
Wow. Anyways. So Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah had a press conference today. He is the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, and he said that J.J. McCarthy being their starting quarterback this year is the outcome we want and the outcome we're heading towards.
Okay. I mean, what you did to trade up to get him and invest quite a bit, and I assume he's healthy. I'm sure he recognized that.
Earlier this week, he talked with somebody and said, "Yeah, I'm ahead of schedule. I'm ready to go."
And I understand that. Hey, we really outkicked our coverage without him last year. Could we win the Super Bowl with a non-rookie-ish quarterback? But this was the plan all along.
This was the plan. The plan was to start him last year.
Right. And operate the big picture on a rookie quarterback salary. You know? It allows you to. It
allowed them to go out and spend $300 million this offseason.
Sure, and a super expensive wide receiver and other things. You know, so that's the plan. You stick with it, and I don't know why you'd really deviate.
Yeah, he was the number 10 overall pick in the 2024 draft. Mm-hmm. And he said, he was asked about Aaron Rodgers, and he says, for me to sit here and say that anything's 100% forever, that's not the job. We're responding to the scenarios with different information as it comes, so obviously things can change. But right now we're really happy with our quarterback room, and we're going to look to upgrade it in different ways.
Okay. They don't have a clear backup at the moment, though, right?
They have somebody on,
I mean, they have like a 3 type
That's
guy.
where Joe Flacco's going to end up,
yeah,
somewhere like that.
Something like
Somebody
that.
could be a mentor to
Right. And that makes all the sense in the world. It's still a pretty cheap room. He's non-threatening. He could do well if thrust into action or whatever. You know? No, I think that's a good move.
Yeah, but it's not Aaron Rodgers.
No, I don't think
that's not going to happen there.
No.
There's one destination now for Aaron Rodgers,
and
it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, or retirement, which I don't think is.
And as I said,
would you come here? Right?
As I said when the show opened today, Russell Wilson does not sign with the Giants unless the Steelers tell him,
right?
Okay, Russ, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Because Russell Wilson wanted to return to Pittsburgh. That was his ideal outcome.
I mean, even with Rudolph in place, I know Rudolph and Winston are making similar money. He would clearly be the one here. I'm not sure he's clearly the one in New York at the moment.
I think he is. They're paying him.
They're paying him more.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm aware, but
That's a tightrope to walk with Jameis.
I know. It's a real
say what you want about Russ, but Russ protects the football 100% better than Jameis.
They're really different players, too. That's just a weird quarterback room already, especially and if you throw in Shador or something.
Imagine those quarterback room meetings, by the way.
I know.
Russ sitting back here talking to himself, which he does. And I got no problem with that.
Yeah, right.
He's a big mental preparation guy, and you got Jameis over there eating W's.
Yeah. And it seemed, I mean, I think you know this better than I do, but I don't think Russ not coming back had anything to do with his personality or any of those things.
No,
I think he was great with all those regards, right? I
have nothing but good things to say about Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
In terms of his personality,
I think he was a class act.
He was nothing but good to me. We every time I dealt with him, was always available. Was good with his teammates. There was nobody in that locker room that disliked Russell. Mm-hmm. You had to. If you dislike Russell Wilson, the person, you got to work really hard. You got to take a look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong?
I didn't understand. I wasn't close to it, but he's a bad fit in Denver. Blah blah. I mean, he's a diva. And then he got here. I'm like, where'd that come from? I mean, unless he didn't act the same here as he did there, I don't know.
If you were the kind of person that looks at somebody who always has a positive outcome on it or a positive outlook of everything and say, nobody can be that positive all the time.
Everyone seems to think he is extremely genuine.
I think that's just who he is.
Who he is, right. I meant to ask Labs this, and if he has just a mediocre year in New York and rides off in the sunset or gives way to a rookie, does he get in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
I think it's pretty close.
I mean, he's like top 15, closing in on top 10 in everything.
I mean, the day he got traded to Denver, I was asked that, and I said yes, that even if he doesn't play again. But his case didn't get stronger since Seattle, obviously. I think he's real close, and I would bet he gets
some of the things that did get stronger, though, are the
cumulative stats.
The cumulative stats, yeah. He has those numbers now.
I mean, he has, so does Rodgers, by the way, but one of the best TD to interception ratios of all time. I mean, it's top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. But,
I'm rooting for him, too.
I wish him nothing but the best. Again, I would have, if he were the Steelers quarterback this year, I would have been perfectly happy with that. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Yep. It's the way it works.
That's going to do it for our show today.
Okay.
So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here, running the Justin Miller hotline, and we want to thank Bob Labriola, the editor of Steelers Digest and Steelers.com, for dropping by as he does every Wednesday. For Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there onto YouTube. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.